So I want to talk to y'all today about the polyvagal theory, right? It's a mouthful, right? Polyvagal, what's that? Well, poly means multiple, and vagal is referring to the vagus nerve, the wandering nerve that starts in the upper cervical, goes to the heart, the lungs, all this internal viscera is innervated by the vagus nerve. Now, a lot of times when we think about the parasympathetics or the vagus nerve, we think of the rest digest response. But something maybe we don't always think about is what we call the ventral vagus, which is up here. Okay, and the ventral vagus is the front part of the vagus nerve, and it has to do with the front part of our nervous system. So when I'm checking babies here in the office, when I'm doing the eye tests with y'all, I'm also looking at facial tone, because facial expression, how we make eye contact and how we're able to non-verbally and verbally communicate with each other and co-regulate with each other is all being done by the ventral vagus nerve. It's that higher part of the parasympathetic nerve system that allows us to be in joy, present, curious, compassionate, grounded, mindful. This is this higher state of the nerve system that we want to be in. Now, we undergo challenges throughout life, whether it's from birth, whether it's a trip or fall when we're a little kid, maybe it's some toxicity in a relationship or toxicity physiologically in the body from diet and other lifestyle factors. Whatever it is, it can cause our nerve system to dip down into one of the less evolved aspects. So one of the things you probably heard about before is the sympathetic fight or flight response. In this response, we might have anger, we might have irritation, we might have fear, anxiety, or panic. Our heart rate goes up, right? Our adrenaline goes up, our digestion decreases. Oxygen to the brain and heart is going to go up so that we can respond quickly, but in the long run, it's going to affect our hormones and our viscera because we're allocating our resources to a fight or flight emergency response. Now, sympathetic gets a bad rap a lot of the time. It's not terrible. Like, you need to go into sympathetic. You have to get stuff done sometimes. Sometimes there are real emergencies, and sometimes you're gonna, I would hope that you're exercising and moving your body, which is getting into that sympathetic branch of the nerve system. We want that. That's good. Now, we don't want to stay here. Staying here with high levels of cortisol has a whole bunch of negative, deteriorating health adverse effects. So what we want to be able to do is dip into here when we need to, and then come back up to that ventral vagus response, right? Sometimes we have to have a good cry, whether we're a baby or an adult. And a good cry is a healthy part of the sympathetic nervous system processing. And then it's a cathartic release. And afterwards, we'll notice a lot of times we'll feel more relaxed as we settle back into that ventral vagus mode of being. Now, there's also the third gear of the nerve system, all the way down here. It's the dorsal vagus, right? The dorsal vagus is like a vegetative state. It's something we share with a starfish, right? It's a lower evolved state of our nerve system, and it's known as the freeze response. Here, we're basically playing dead. We've stressed the sympathetic nerve system too long to no avail, and now the next strategy is to go freeze mode because the circuitry of the nerve system is essentially short-circuited, and this is an evolved response. Play dead and hopefully stay safe, right? We don't want to stay here very long, right? Sometimes it is appropriate. Sometimes after significant challenges, after significant trauma, after a passing of a loved one, there's some level of normalcy with this numbness and disassociated feeling sensation. We don't want to, or lack of feeling sensation. We don't want to stay here though, okay? We want to be able to dip down to here, recognize it for what it is, get back into the sympathetics where we're crying, feeling our body, starting to move the energy, and eventually having that activating energy move us back up to the ventral vagus where we're seeking help, we're co-regulating. We don't have to stay here isolated, numbed out, and alone. We also don't have to stay here frustrated, irritated, fearful, anxious, right? But this is part of the healthy curve of the nervous system that it sometimes has to go through in order to get back up to that ventral vagus response. So what are we doing with chiropractic care? We're helping to improve and optimize sensory motor processing. We're trying to keep you connected with your body so that your brain is connecting with what you're feeling, what you're perceiving, what's going on in the vasculature and in the viscera of the body. We want to improve our perception of what's happening in here so that we don't stay disassociated and so that we don't stay irritated. So we're helping the spinal cord to unwind and decompress and get back closer to straight, so there's nice healthy slack and peace and grace inside the spinal cord, so that it's not constantly being irritated to activate the nervous system into that sympathetic irritation, fight or flight response. So ideally, what we're doing with the care is we're able to help your neuroadaptability or your heart rate variability, right? These different measurements of how fastly you can go through a stress response and then return back to that baseline healthy state of low resting blood pressure. So hopefully that's helpful for you.